We've got Charlie online. Hello. And then we have Peter, Robert, David Hackelman, Jennifer, Chuck, and Paul in the room. Before we kick things off, I just want to say this is my last meeting on DSAC, my last as chair, my last on the committee. I just don't have the time that I would like to commit to this committee, unfortunately. So later on in the second half of the meeting, we'll talk about who's going to continue on. A lot of people have their terms ending at the end of the year.
I'll be riding off in the sunset with you.
Chuck will be, well. So we'll go through that and get kind of a roll call so we can get some numbers to the commissioners for how many new members they need to recruit. And we should also make time in there to nominate and vote on a new chair for the committee. So I hope you'll all consider it, in the back of your mind over the break, and then maybe nominate somebody to take over, as well as a vice chair when we get to it later in the meeting. So the first thing we have up on the agenda is public comment. Charlie, can you hear me okay? Okay, great. I'm always suspicious of the microphones. So the first item of business is public comment. There's nobody in the room. I see one person online. Philip, did you have a comment?
No.
Okay. Well, that makes that part of the meeting easy enough. Next, we have an update on the expansion proposal. Bailey, did you want to take that one?
Sure.
Do you need a microphone?
Yeah, I'll come closer. As I think everyone's aware, the commissioners had a meeting on November 4th and voted 2-1 to approve the expansion. The Neighbors for Environmental Quality and Safety may end up filing an appeal. They'll have 21 days to do that. And if they do appeal it, they appeal it to the Land Use Board of Appeals. From there, it could continue on through the court system. And that is pretty much on the expansion itself, the only update I have.
I haven't been keeping track, but I know there were a bunch of requirements put on the expansion proposal that was approved by the board.
Mm-hmm.
Broad strokes, like what kinds of things? Is there additional restrictions?
There are a few things that the commissioner said that they'd like to include in the conditions of approval. That includes independent monitoring, so that would become a newly created position from Benton County. They asked that there be fire watch outside of operating hours. There are a few things. A lot of it was around monitoring, though.
Okay, great.
Is there a place that I've not seen this final report? Is it available?
It'll come out. So the staff now is working on.
Okay, so then that's going to be published, and then when's the date that this 21-day thing starts for the? Somebody want to get
I think that begins after the 17th. So this upcoming Monday, the 17th, the board will meet on it again.
Okay, is that when the report's going to be submitted, or will it be after that?
I don't know.
Maybe
I think after, but
people ought to know what the exact
There should be
situation.
a timeline on the website.
I just don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, I can find that out.
Thanks.
Charlie had a question online. Can she unmute herself, or do you have
Yes,
that?
I can.
Okay.
I'm happy to. Dave should also be shown on that big, huge screen that I'm looking at behind you guys. I don't know if he, but I'm looking at him, and you, but I don't see him on that screen behind where you usually sit, Bailey. at that other counter.
I am here.
Yeah.
I know.
We can see it. So we see that you're here and Dave and Brent are both here.
Good, good. So I was just gonna mention that Pat Malone, one of the commissioners, had said he wanted to make sure there was water testing at E.E. Wilson, and that's near and dear to my heart. That's just, that was one of the things I noticed when I watched that thing. I don't know what else really grabbed my attention.
Questions or? Okay. All right, sounds good. Thanks, Billy. Okay, next item up on the agenda is reviewing and approving the draft of last meeting's minutes and action items. I'm not sure I have a record of those action items. I will have to abstain on the minutes, excuse me, because I wasn't there. Maybe David Huckelman, you can walk us through it.
But
You could walk us through the meeting minutes from last time?
I can get them up,
Okay.
just a minute.
Just minutes.
Um,
See if I can pull them up as well. In the meeting packet online?
Mhm.
Okay.
Towards the front.
yeah.
I have a question while he's waiting, if that's okay.
Mhm.
I'm just looking on this, who's expiring and who's staying on. Are the ones, is actually the 26 is actually correct for two of these?
Right.
I didn't know if there were typos or not. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, the terms are really weird because a lot of us who are expiring at the end of this year actually
That's what I
started.
saw. There was two at 26. And I thought that was a typo because everything was consistent except two.
Yeah. But the terms they're 2-year terms, but a lot of us started at the middle of last year.
Oh, I did.
Because the term is set by the slot that we're filling and not by
I see
when
what
you
you're saying.
start.
Yeah.
Gotcha, understood.
Do you want the minutes read, or do you want to just the key takeaways or the?
Well, usually what we do, let me pull up the packet. Usually what we do is we just go through it and make any corrections.
All right, well, I did find one thing that I didn't know was my responsibility. And that's all I read them. Did everybody read them? Thought I did a pretty good job of covering what we said, but I'm biased.
I had something I wanted to comment on the groundwater monitoring. I don't think it was me that reported that the subcommittee met with Seth Sadowski of DEQ, but that's minor. I thought Dave did that. Maybe not.
It was Dave, but I'm not sure.
But it's not, nothing looked important to me that got neglected in the last minutes. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I already told Bailey that my name is spelled with an E instead of an O, but that's the only thing I found.
Okay, and then so Charlie says, really under groundwater monitoring, probably it's David Livesay that was the correct. Okay, and then
Yeah, that's fine.
It may have been me as well. One of us did it.
the two
Could
of
have
you,
been Pete. I don't know. It wasn't me. That's all.
Pete was the one that reported out. I missed the last meeting, unfortunately.
Yeah,
it would have been
him for
Peter.
that.
Sorry. And the only other thing I had was, I think I did not recall that I had the action item to ask everybody if they were going to stay on. Collect information, that's under action items. And, there was collect information from members about their intentions to continue on the meeting committee. I apologize if I had that job, I didn't do it.
That's okay. We'll sort it out by the end of this meeting.
But everything else looks correct to me. Does anybody have any? So substantially accurate.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion to accept the minutes with these revisions.
I move so.
Anyone?
Second.
Okay, can I get a vote? All those in favor? I'm gonna declare that the majority. Okay, sounds good. And then just working through these action items. So these are on page 10 of the meeting packet. Bailey, there's something about sending a request for revised groundwater monitoring. Is that this printout that we've got with us?
Yes. So David drafted a letter to DEQ. And David, do you want to, or Dave, do you want to talk about it?
Well, I'll just mention it briefly. I'm kind of at an awkward spot here and I don't have it pulled up, but we reviewed the groundwater monitoring plan. I've been looking at some of the annual reports and I just saw some suggestions, some things that I thought could be enhanced and improved out there for groundwater monitoring. And I think there were 6 points and one of them included also monitoring surface water and pore water in Soap Creek. So we wrote those up and discussed them with Seth, with DEQ, and put them in a formal letter for Benton County to submit to DEQ. And I think we talked about that. I know I was at the meeting when we first talked about them. It was a couple of meetings ago.
Thank you. And so has everybody had a chance to review this letter already? Okay. All right, we'll return to that in a little bit.
Okay, before you finish that, Rachel, I'm sorry. But at the time, this was like our first subcommittee report out sessions. And we went through our recommendations and the committee agreed that we should go forward and approach DEQ with those. So that's what we did. So it was consistent with what the committee found.
Got it. Okay, thank you for the context there. So
we weren't going rogue on you guys.
Okay, got it.
And I'll plan on sending this letter out on Monday afternoon.
Okay. Great. And then we had Bailey under your to-dos contacting Laura at DEQ about directing people to the Coffin Butte website for complaints.
Yeah, I did that and the person responded that they tried to notify Republic Services as soon as they get a complaint so that they can address it. So yeah, I have a connection there too. So I think there are additional improvements that could be made.
Okay, and then the last one for you was checking if the 2024 annual report would be presented at DSAC before going to the board.
No.
Okay, what's the status of that? It's
January,
correct.
Okay.
Yes.
January with, when we, after, I don't know when, we have to talk about when I present to the board.
Yeah.
Not sure what that timeline looks like.
And I'll circle back with you guys. There are a couple of different dates, including the rate increase.
Okay. Which I'm not part of. I don't know anything about that.
Okay, great. Julie, there are a couple of to-dos for you on here.
Yes, were they?
One was continue working with the website team to improve the complaint reporting system. And I think that included adding a report a concern button to the Coffin Butte website.
So I have been talking with those folks. One of the things that might not surprise you is that we are, with the scrutiny on everything we do, we are being very careful about making quick changes to websites and things like that. So we're waiting for direction from the commissioners on the 17th. Then we'll talk with the website folks. And I think it was really just to change the name of that button that says report an odor concern to report a concern. And honestly, I think it could be report an issue. You know, it could be that someone has something to say that isn't a complaint or a concern. So we just want to make that generic so that people could report whatever it is they want to report through that website. And then the form, and Bailey, I don't know if you have the ability to pull that up, but the form on the website's real simple and real easy for folks to report. I think I also was supposed to report back, and Paul can help me with this as well, on how those are accepted, who gets those, and how often those are monitored. And it's coffinbuttelandfill.com.
As soon as someone puts that in and hits submit, it comes to me, it comes to the ops clerk, it comes to the maintenance ops clerk, it goes to the ops manager as well.
Yeah, and then somebody is making sure that those get sent if it needs to go to somebody else. For example, if it's about a tour, they get sent to me. If it's somebody who wants some other kind of information, it could be sent to someone else. So those get sent. So Bailey, that's what the page looks like when you open Coffin Butte page. If you go to operations, and this is the part that we had some discussion about whether that's the right place for the reporting to be done.
Or
If
is it
that's-
shouldn't it be like on the front page?
Well, it could
The
be.
link where people would know.
I don't
where to
know
go.
that it
Yeah.
should be, but I think, I'm going to tell you, this website is very simple. So if anybody who wanted to report a concern right now or an odor couldn't find it, they didn't look very hard because it's a really simple web page right now. We could put it on the front page, but that might not necessarily be what we want on an opening page to just say report a concern. There are other things people want to find out, like how much is it going to cost if I bring a load to Coffin Butte? What can I bring? What materials can't you accept? There's a lot of other information.
Yeah.
So I think it could be a button on the homepage that says report an issue.
Or somewhere even at the bottom of the
Yeah,
front page.
Yeah, it could be in that light blue line above the picture. And so that was part of the discussion was, does that belong in operations? And that's part of what we'll be looking at is how we want to organize that. So it's really super easy for people to find.
Yeah, I mean, it is a little unusual because if you go to the operations tab, the odor report is the only thing on that page.
It is right now.
So it's not like a comprehensive
As I
look at
said,
operations.
it's a very simple website right now. And we know that there's more that could be put there, but we're really waiting for some direction before we make wholesale changes.
Okay,
Are you who are you waiting for the direction from?
From the commissioners on the
So
17th.
we can't advise, you don't want us to advise you?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Could we advise you as to what to put there? And why would that not?
We would
be
certainly
satisfactory?
listen to that, but are we going to take direction from everybody out there? No. We're going to listen to what the commissioners ask us to do. We're going to take into account what this body says. I think it's really important to listen to what you say.
Do
I
the
just can't
commissioners
promise that we're going to
know
do.
that they want, that you want some information from them?
Well, we've been through, I don't know, 20, 30 hours of hearings and meetings
Yeah, but I
recently.
mean, for
And
this
so
specific thing,
we're trying to get
asking.
all that information in and decide what's
sure,
important.
but what I'm asking is, they may not know that that you want their advice, and therefore you'd never get their advice, you see.
Not specifically about the website.
Okay, so they
We've
don't right
gotten
now
plenty of
know that.
advice.
okay.
I
I
think
mean,
once the commissioner's decision comes out, we'll have a comprehensive idea of what everything is. Instead of piecemealing, let's change this, oh, let's do this, or let's do that as
We want to
piecemeal.
do
Just do it everything at once.
one change.
I see no reason that has to be the case.
Well, we
It
were,
just makes it harder for people to do things.
Mhm.
Because if you have a small thing to do, it's easy to do it.
Bailey, do you know if the commissioners are still taking input before they submit a report?
No.
They're all done?
They're finished.
They're finished, okay. Because my thinking was we could just send a note to them suggesting this, okay.
no, there's no new information.
All right, well,
Either way, though, we could send a note to the
Yeah, of
commissioners,
course.
advising them, here's what we think needs to occur on the website, irregardless of the expansion.
And I don't want to be flip about this, but just know, this is a website owned by Republic Services, and we want input from the community. We may not necessarily do it exactly the way you would like it to be done in every instance, or we might. I just can't answer that question right now.
Thank you.
Great, thank you very much, Julie. Paul, I'm going to put you on the spot now. There are a couple of action items for you. One was consider discussing red flag warning protocols internally. Do you have any idea what that means?
That was
Is that a
from
fire thing?
last meeting, if I remember, correctly. Yeah, red flag, so, we originally met with David and the board and fire department. They were saying they were supposed to let us know when the red flag days were happening, so we could proactively do
Yeah.
something, and they only let us know one time. And I think remember that conversation, they said we would stab somebody or do something different when we had red flag days, but they only let us know one time this whole summer. Apparently there were many more, but the argument in some of the testimony is like the owners shouldn't be on the fire department. Well, the fire department is what knows and are the most equipped to understand what a red flag day is, to let us know. I know what a red flag day is. I live in Southern California. I don't want to know what they are, so, but what I might consider a red flag might be different than what the local fire department considers a red flag.
Is that information just like publicly available? I'm thinking of those wildfire condition, signs we see all over the highway when we enter certain areas. Like, could you go to a website and look it up, or?
I don't know what's around, but that's one of the conversations we have with the Dare Fire is that, hey, let us know when a red flag condition exists locally
Mhm.
in this area so we can take action. And speaking to the operations manager, I don't know, 3 or 4 weeks ago, he said they only called us once this summer for a red flag day. So I don't know if we only had one red flag day or if we
Oh,
had 10.
Did you guys respond on that day?
I was not aware of the red flag day or when he called, so I asked Brock when that was, and he couldn't remember.
Oh,
It
then we
was-
got
I think it was back in June, maybe, I don't know, but
sure.
I wasn't aware. I found out 3 weeks ago that, they called one time, so I was not aware of that.
And it looks like they didn't call the right number.
I'm not aware of that. They
Because,
have Brock's number. I think they have Brock's cell
Okay,
phone.
would that be the correct number to call?
I say
Probably.
maybe, but they can also have the office number, the main office
Yeah.
number that goes straight to us.
Well, it'd be nice to make it so that because you're the important guy to know about it.
I didn't know. If
Yeah.
I known, I would have done something about it.
So I hear 2 problems in this one. One of them is there was only 1 call, and the other one was the call that came in didn't get to you.
Yeah, and I don't know, I have to double check with the house manager when that call actually came in.
Sure.
So,
And I will say Brock is the operations manager and would probably
He's the one.
institute protocols. So I think it did get to the right person,
Yeah,
but it didn't get to Paul as well.
exactly.
it did
Yeah.
follow.
So ideally it'd get to Paul. Was that?
As well, yes,
Oh, I
operations
think,
manager is
yeah,
the one that handles
for sure.
it. Yeah.
So I will say, like, if I had to guess,
Mhm.
Adair Fire does not have like a team of meteorologists on staff that are monitoring the weather. They're probably just pulling reports from the National Weather Service.
I don't know what their source of
We
information
should, I
is.
mean, but what I'm saying is like, it would probably be helpful to figure out what their source is, because if
Right.
it's a source that you can pull from as well, then you don't have to wait for the fire department to tell you.
Yeah,
what's going
fair point. At the same time, I don't have time to monitor. They're the ones that monitor, just like fire, like hot shot crews and stuff. They're gonna monitor all that information right away. They have that real-time data. All I've seen around locally is this fire weather watch app that people use for current wind conditions, so
Yeah.
I just don't know what else.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's necessarily you need to do it, but it seems like somebody who's involved in operations at the landfill could easily, over their morning coffee, check the National Weather Service to see what's going on. And
Yeah,
just so you know what the conditions are.
To counter that though, our conversation with David and Adair Fire said,
Yeah.
Adair Fire did say, no problem, we will let you know when there's red flag days. So if they decide not to do that, they say, you know what, we can't do that, you guys are gonna do it. We relied on them to.
I think maybe you
report
should
to
give
us.
me an action item on this one. I'd be happy to communicate with their RFD and
Sure.
point out that there were red flag days this year. 1 call was made, but it didn't get effectively to you.
Mhm, mhm.
Okay, so we need to fix this system.
Yeah,
Okay, and then they may have some advice, and I'm pretty sure we can solve this, but,
right, yeah, no
But,
problem.
okay? So I'm happy to take that on if
Okay.
you'd like.
Yeah, that sounds great. Thank you.
And then we can, that'll be an action item for, see, I don't know if I'm gonna be here next year or not, but I know I'll be here until the 31st of December. So I can do it before that,
Right,
okay?
okay,
And I'll be happy to take that action item.
okay, that's great. Thank you very much.
Now, I thought I heard Commissioner Malone say that there would be fire watch 24/7.
Outside of.
Outside of operating.
Yeah, that was one of the things.
That is for the expansion. That does not include current operations.
Oh, just for that one
is
side?
just expansion.
Yeah, so
Well, they smell smoke on one side, that probably.
I don't know. I don't want to assume anything.
Okay,
I think we do need to get the connection working for the system.
All right.
Paul, there was one other item for you, which was arrange for a groundwater expert to speak to the DSAC.
They've been completely busy with
Makes sense.
other things, so
Yeah.
they haven't had a chance to do anything, so apologies.
It's okay. So maybe that's something for us to pick up, I would say in January. Okay, last items, odor and methane subcommittee.
May I make one more comment on the fire?
Sure.
I contacted the Forest Service to find out about their cameras that they use for monitoring wildfires. And I have a meeting scheduled on Monday, this upcoming Monday, with a company called Pano AI. And they're the outfit that provides the cameras for the Forest Service. So we're going to talk with them to find out what the costs are and, you know, what the capability of their technology is. So I'll share that at the next meeting.
That sounds great.
So Bailey, I think that Brett did report that we have looked at those kind of trail cam, sort of camera systems. And one of the issues out there is that cell service is very, very, very spotty. And the company that we brought out to look at it didn't believe it would be successful.
I have perfect cell coverage where I live.
You know, I can drive here and I have cell and I hit a point and I have nothing.
I have perfect cell coverage from the top of the hill. So I think there may be a solution. I know that down in that little hole, it's very hard. I understand that.
Yeah, it might be that there are some locations it would work just fine.
But it could be that we might even want to see if the state forest service wants to install something because it views the state forest as well.
Yeah.
So it doesn't necessarily have to be sourced by Republic, for example. You know, it may be of a benefit more than just the landfill.
I'm sorry, Dave, how does the state forestry play into this? They have neighboring property?
There's adjacent state forest property. McDonald Forest
Okay.
is just across the valley from where the landfill is.
Right, got it. Okay. I mean, to Paul's comment, I worked for 2 different state and federal fire agencies one time, and during fire season, there's at least once a day where they did the weather balloon and did weather monitoring. So I would think you would depend on those agencies to, get the data to their high-risk partners.
So the last 2 action items were on another subcommittee. So I'm going to table that for now and just keep us in the fire discussion. David, did you have any updates that you wanted to share with the committee on fire safety?
Any updates on fire safety? I did identify that there's a need to deal with this issue in a way that makes it so we don't have a problem. We talked about what we planned to do, and I now know the results of what we tried this year. It's not necessarily effective yet.
This is the Adair warning, or is there more?
I also have been listening to what Bailey has been doing and very excited about that possibility.
Yeah, I think that could be really great.
I don't have more to bring than that.
Okay. Yeah, I like the idea of maybe involving OSU or the state in monitoring. Certainly they have a vested interest in making sure they don't have fire that extends into McDonald.
They may have locations that also suffer from poor cell coverage. So maybe they have an approach.
Yeah. Okay, then we'll move on to our last item before the break, which is updates from subcommittees. So we'll start with odors, methane, and Title V permit. That's Jennifer and David, I believe.
Would you like to present or?
No, go ahead.
Okay. We wrote a report, which I submitted. It's in the, which we did that jointly. And was kind enough to, I started off with a draft and she was kind enough to make it so it's more rational and real. So I really appreciate that. And basically what happened this last time is that I had an opportunity to visit Dr. Field's lab area. And our goal was to find a method to determine if odors and emissions emitted from the landfill are the cause of odor complaints from the local public. Because, they don't necessarily know what they smell. And so the way one can do that, there's a couple of ways. Right now what happens is if Paul gets a message that there's been an odor complaint, he goes back and sees if at the time that that occurred, but it's kind of tough because he has to kind of like go back in time to figure it out. And it'd be better if we had something that we're monitoring and a fingerprint spectra of what's coming out. And then, machinery can see if there's an odor better than just a human. So the idea is we need to go get what are called fingerprint spectra of the atmospheric emissions from both the landfill and the compost region. Okay, that gives us an idea of what should be coming out at any one time. And then if there's and we can get a perspective as to whether or not those are happening at the time that there's a complaint based upon that, as well as the weather conditions. So we then know if, for example, somebody in southeast Corvallis sends in an odor complaint, whether it was coming from those or maybe the Halsey paper plant or somewhere else. Right now we don't. And so we recommended that we do a initial fingerprint spectrum analysis, which is fairly complicated, but it's pretty straightforward. And we can do that with existing supplies, equipment, personnel locally. And then after that fingerprint spectra material will also give us an opportunity to possibly apply for a grant to cover a pretty significant study. Okay, the fingerprint spectra work, I did send in a note asking for some support from the county to get that done, because it'll take a graduate student a few months to accomplish it. That's kind of where we stand on that. Beyond that, the expertise of Dr. Field and her team is clearly the most important for us, and it's locally. We've got a world-class laboratory analysis team right here in Corvallis, so we're very lucky that way. And there's been some concern that this is going to cost a lot of money, and I don't think if we set it up right that it should. The initial study might cost quite a bit, but after that, monitoring may be fairly straightforward to do with some pretty low cost equipment.
Can the spectra be set up on perimeter landfill without going into the landfill and still watch the winds aloft and so forth, assuming that there's corporations here, so it can run just the perimeter and put the Berlin roll up for winds aloft and anything with any contaminant that way?
Well, ideally, the study needs to be done at points of the source of the emissions. However, the emissions do migrate beyond the boundaries of the emission source. And if we if we are not allowed to collect on the source, then we can do it aside the source, given the right weather conditions. And we have to compute a dilution factor based upon that, and then extrapolate back to what might be taking place at the source. Good. So it's not as accurate, but it's effective. And in some cases, with some of the analysis techniques that use remote sensing, you can get even an assessment right at the site by doing some triangulation. But I didn't recommend that.
Sensing is good in a sense, is certain limits over the landfill that permits air traffic, if you will. In other words, commercial air traffic is at a distance of 500 feet above there, and FAA says any remote stuff needs to be below the 500 feet. But what I'm saying is that if you need.
Yeah, I mean, it would also be complicated by the fact that Republic owns the lower airspace.
Well, actually, the airspace ownership is a debate right now, but I think ideally, if Republic were to be willing to allow the sampling to take place on site, that would give us a better opportunity to make a good fingerprint spectra. But we can do it with or without the support of Republic. It's up to them if they want to help.
So I just want to make sure I understand this right. So you're envisioning kind of 3 phases. One would be some very preliminary study to
Yeah.
just kind of show the feasibility of fingerprinting. Is that it? Is
Yeah.
that the idea? And then the second would be like a big, I think the estimate you had was maybe 250K,
Yeah,
like a characterization study
yeah, it's
of
an
the odors.
application.
Right, like a
for
really kind of detailed characterization of the odors. And then the third would be monitoring, where you would take samples whenever someone has an odor complaint and see if it matches up.
Yeah, what we'd pick for the sampling technique are the things that are easiest to monitor that we know would be with the rest of the materials under most conditions. You know, so it could be something as simple as looking at, I don't know, SO2 if it's coming out, which is easy to monitor.
Yeah.
So, so that's kind of the process that you do. And then the monitoring stations don't pick up everything coming out.
Yeah.
They just look for, I guess I'd call them tracers that would tell you that this is the direction that the plume is going.
Okay. And then is one of the questions you have to answer whether the odors are consistent, right? Like whether.
Whether or not they stay the same over time.
Right.
Yes, they don't, but they stay basically the same. It's not every component is consistent.
Yeah, I think to do it well, you would have to take multiple snapshots, so you're getting a representative view, because there is probably some temporal nature of the emissions. I think one of the possible benefits is how we discover how many of the odor reports are not due to the landfill. That's my guess.
Exactly.
That's my guess.
Well, to that point, your point question is, will you monitor other locations that could
Mhm.
potentially be sources, like when winds come from the south? And I get
Yeah.
complaints from individuals that are between me and our landfill
Yeah.
and the odor source. And I check site weather, I check the Corvallis National Weather Service for wind correlation. And if they're from the south, there's 4 wastewater treatment plants. And there's
Yeah.
typically, so I just want to make sure that.
That's part of what we talked about in a scale up. I think it, like, to keep it
Yeah.
proof of concept, very small scale, it'd be the PRC, which I think has a very distinctive odor, which I don't think I've ever smelled the landfill except when I visited your house. So I think those are 2 very distinct, and I would do proof of concept with those. But in a bigger effort, absolutely wastewater treatment plant can be, and again, if you got calls from Corvallis, I mean, I live in Lewisburg and I've never smelled either the PRC of the landfill. which
I
means-
get calls that people live a mile or 2 north of the wastewater treatment plants. There's Albany, then there's another one, and then there's Corvallis. And even the people who live up Soap Creek, when the winds are from the south, I don't think the winds hit the landfill and do a 180 degree turn and come back down. They do float, have a tendency,
Yeah,
especially. when the
you definitely have to take
weather's
wind
colder,
conditions
it's-
into, I mean, it's not a
Right,
simple thing.
Right.
And the idea is to place that information into the context of location and
No,
also,
I just want to make sure that it's just not,
Yeah,
you know,
no,
what's our
but,
potential other sources.
Halsey and, what's Ebonite now?
Evans brought it.
That's got its,
Yeah.
probably its own signature.
It does.
And that could easily be something that local residents in town pick up perhaps more frequently than anything north of town.
When I come into Corvallis, and I can say this when I'm towards Adair, and the winds are coming from the south and it's cool out, I can actually smell. And I do smell it a couple miles away. It's just a very.
I think the summary is that humans are not a very good, they're very undependable detection
Well,
source.
They detect an odor, but they don't necessarily know where it's coming from.
Well, I talked to somebody who lives on the north end of Arboretum Road, and I asked them about smells, and they said no. But then I said, what's it like living next to a noisy highway? And they said, what noise?
You get used to stuff, right? So, yeah.
So I think the other point is if we just do the sampling right by these 2 sites, we can then also say whether, if there is an odor, we can have a pretty good understanding that it may not be coming from them. If it's, if the weather conditions do not warrant that being an odor.
So I think what you're saying, you have an empirical way to detect it versus,
Yeah.
I mean, that's a more
And
reliable
I don't
source.
really want to, I really hate to, I'm trying to think, if I was in Paul's shoes, he gets an odor complaint.
Mhm.
Okay, let's say 3 days ago, there was an odor. Okay.
Right.
I don't think he keeps track of when there were odors.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, most odors, it's a dump day, it stinks.
Yeah,
Is it a gas odor? Is it, if it's a trash odor, or is it something else? And some of these that say, hey, I go out and I smell rotting manure or something along the road in these places. So it's like,
exactly.
that's all I can smell, or wetness, or, so it doesn't help. That's just, some people have gotten better, because I do reply, and I just, if you give more detail, I can try to understand. I just can't understand something I get, and
Yeah,
I'm not gonna badger on DEQ or whatever, but I keep pushing out to the website, and I can respond pretty quickly during the business days.
anyhow, so that's the goal of what we put up here is, first of all, to get an appraisal fingerprint spectra on a few days. We can't do a lot with that much money. And then from there on, we can do a more extensive study to get a better appraisal of what's going on. And then after that takes place is when you can use, I'm calling them tracers, I should have a different word, but something that will tell us, can be detected, and coupled with the atmospheric conditions, the wind and so forth, rain, we can determine whether or not the source is from the site or from elsewhere. And sure, if we can do the same thing for every other emitter in the area. It's just a matter of time and effort, and that usually calculates out to money.
So do you have a sense of how much that first sampling
First phase,
phase would cost?
I think it's about $15,000.
Okay.
I guess my last question on that would be, was there anything else out there like fertilizing a field that would have the same signature as a landfill?
Well, that's certainly a good question. And I don't really know, because I don't know what people are using for fertilizer in the local area.
Right, but
Yeah.
Does the composting site for the garden waste, the Republic Circle, does that smell like,
Yes.
You talking about PRC?
is that what that's called?
Yeah.
You talking about PRC? Yeah, PRC, I smell worse at Home Depot than PRC does. I grew out part of the country back in Cleveland, so that doesn't, PRC, I don't even.
Different people smell
Yeah,
different.
right, yeah, so it just smells like a composting facility to me. It doesn't.
But
really-
could that be interpreted as an odor for some of the neighbors who smell stuff?
I don't get anything saying PRC. It's just,
No, I know.
No, but the smell.
I think
they
I don't know where it comes
they
from.
they just say it stinks.
And maybe
Or they'll
that's-
say, I got one odor complaint says, I can smell the mercaptans. I'm like,
That doesn't help you either.
it doesn't help me either, I mean, it's, so they don't say I smell PRC. It's just, it's a dump, it stinks, smells like trash. That's kind of the general complaint. They don't say it smells like composting, like.
Okay, I think we've.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes.
I mean, I guess like for next steps, maybe the thing to do would be, I don't know how everyone feels about this, but like write up a proposal for that first.
Well, actually, I sent a note to Bailey to ask him to forward to request $15,000 from the county to start the study.
Great.
And then after that takes place, then Jennifer is putting together a grant proposal. We've got kind of a deadline for when that can go in, and if we have this data, it will really help the grant proposal.
Right. So was it the Board of Commissioners are going to decide whether you want to discretionary spending on this or?
I've asked my manager, the Director of Community Development, and we're gonna be talking about it on Monday.
Okay, great.
Do you need either one of us to be with you?
I don't think so. Thank you,
Okay.
though.
You're
Yeah.
welcome.
I just had one more question on this, which was like, let's say this goes all the way through and then we have this great machinery for like looking for these signatures and determining either yes or no that the odor comes from the landfill. Like, what does that do for us? Like, are there any like laws against odor? I'm just trying to figure out like what benefit to the county it has aside from just knowing whether the odor is coming from the landfill or not.
Well, that's a good question. So I think of it as developing sort of a diagnostic profile. And if you want to discriminate, like, for example, if the landfill is getting, complaints that are not theirs, that may or may not influence, management practices or I could imagine that decisions would be made based on that. The plausibility, like having that information, like if you live in Southtown, there's vanishing like 1% chance that you would be picking this up because of like a dilution model. But rather you have other sources in your area. So just helping people understand what they live near and what's reasonable, what's not reasonable in terms of how what you detect and where you are. We've seen this in the literature done with target compounds where people go in targeting certain chemicals and you can show that the places are different. Yeah, our plan is to use the very, very broad spectrum because the nose is picking up a fraction of everything that's out there. There's just a certain group of molecules that we interact with our noses. So we suspect that there's more information that would add to, what people detect, because people are not very good at discriminating between odors unless you're like a professional nose for like wine or perfume. That's a cultured thing, right?
I think after we have a decision, if we can find out whether or not the source, then if it turns out the source is something completely different than the landfill that's causing the odors, we can approach that to see if there's anything. As for regulations on odor emissions, there are some. I haven't looked at them in complete detail, but there are some, and they apply to every industry, not to just landfills.
Okay, great. Wonderful. All right, let's move on to our other subcommittees. Groundwater leachate, I think that's you, Charlie, and Dave Lipson, right?
Yeah. I think we're waiting we had our report and review, which is sort of looking at the quality of the current monitoring plan for groundwater, and had our conversation with Seth at DEQ, and we're waiting for that letter now to go to Seth at DEQ. They said it's going after the decision on Monday.
Got it. Okay, sounds great.
Hey, Bailey, did you have a sense from DEQ what their timeline looks like on the review of that monitoring plan?
I didn't get a sense for when it would be completed. I just asked if the comments that you drafted, if those would still be able to be considered. And he said that they would, but he didn't give me any timeline. I can ask him about that when I email him on Monday.
I also think it might be worth asking DEQ for a meeting to discuss those comments, either Zoom it or even face-to-face.
Okay, I'll set that up with Seth and those of you that are on that committee.
Okay.
And just as a sort of a separate aside related to groundwater testing in general, the Benton Soil and Water Conservation District has offered its services and will do some, I think one of the things that was in our letter was about sampling Soap Creek. And the Benton Soil and Water Conservation District have offered to assist in providing advice to proper sampling, and also will write grants with people that are in adjacent wells that want to have their water tested. So that's just something of interest.
Great. Thank you. All right, and then our last subcommittee is community engagement. Can someone remind me who's on that one? You, Robert, and
Well, really the two items were the DEQ and the odor complaints going to the DEQ and then going to Republic and maybe having and also a feed coming to us so that we can see, kind of close the loop on that. And so that we just got that information. And so I think, Bailey, are we kind of working with to close the loop on that?
Yeah, I think maybe a follow-up conversation on that would be good. The county has a software called Civic Plus, and it's used by a lot of municipalities to track like potholes and roads and any number of things. So I'm hoping to get access to that so that there could be an automated way so that when we receive a concern, it immediately gets sent to Paul, immediately gets sent to myself and the DEQ, to just kind of speed that up so that you're getting information faster. Because I've been sending Paul complaints that I receive, but I do them in huge batches. So they're not super helpful to him the way I've been reporting. So that's something I hope to improve on.
Okay.
But since this topic has come up, I really haven't gotten very many complaints at all, but the times that I do, I have been communicating with Paul faster.
And then the other topic was the website. And so that's, sort of quasi on hold until the, the commissioners come back with some of their, I guess, requests and then, hopefully have one kind of nice big build, when we review the website.
Would be nice to do an overhaul all at once with what needs to be there. That's what we're thinking.
Great, sounds great. Thanks, Trevor. All right, so let's take a break here and then reconvene at 7 p.m. I think lots of hard thoughts about who you want to be chair. All right, so welcome back. We're gonna start off. Peter had something quick to say about fire.
So on the fire safety, I was reading the, I guess the staff report and then where the public services came back with additional evidence. And where they're addressing with the 20 fires, and I think you guys said it was 8 fires or whatever. But as I was looking at it, said, at that time, Adair Fire indicated they look forward to continuing to support the landfill. The landfill appreciate that support when needed. It should be noted that most fires are handled by on-site staff and Adair's fire support is not needed. So I was wondering then who tallies and keeps track of how many fires you guys put out versus Adair's called up to come and do something? How many fires do you guys have that you?
I don't have that answer off the top of my head because I'm not in operations. I've only been here for a year, so
Sure.
I would have to talk to operations to find out.
Yeah.
If they have a hot load, they dump it and then they bury it, or well, you don't apply water to because you don't know what it is, right? So you usually put soil on it and you snuff it out. And I think that's where the one that the most recent one has been raised about, hey, someone driving past because it reignited, put enough soil on it. So, and of course, our ops manager is 5 minutes away, 10 minutes away on the south side of Mount. So he was there too fast. Take care of it. But as far as Adair Fire, they say how many fires they overestimated in the testimony, but we pulled the records as we submitted as part of our evidence. And a lot of those were for people driving by not realizing what a candlestick flare is, and they see a flame, but we eliminated those. So, that kind of cut that part out.
Okay.
But yeah, short answer is I don't have that off the top of my head.
Okay, great. So the next item on the agenda is, I think for David Hackelman, this is gas sampling wells and DEQ pre-enforcement notice.
Yeah, I started off with the gas sampling wells. I just had a question or two about it, if I could please. I have this map, which is very small. I think you guys have seen it before. And on here, I think there's like 3 or 4 gas sampling wells along the Coffin Butte Road, I think it's called.
What map was that the map in the packet?
I think this is the map that was in the packet, yes.
Okay, I don't have that with me, so.
Okay, well, it's called GP 4, 1, 2, 3, and 4. They're like here, they're down in this area. There's one there. They're along this road here. And then when I read about these, I'm learning about this all along. But what I read is that these are a place where gas is withdrawn and observed to look to see if there's, I think, flammable like
those are, I think those are ground perimeter wells that we double check and to make sure that there is no gas migration off the land.
Yeah. And my question was, I didn't see any of those except along that edge.
Because they're in soft sediment.
But I would think gas would tend to go up, not down. And those are below the landfill, the major portion of the landfill. So I was
Gas
curious about
can
that.
travel laterally if
Sure.
given the right circumstances. And that is a typical thing that you see on all landfills. In every landfill, you will see ground wells that for gas, because gas can migrate. Obviously, it does go up, but it can also go laterally, especially if it's water soluble. So as if it travels, and that obviously indicates there's an issue, but we don't have any issues with gas going off site or contamination, because that would show up in those wells as well.
Okay, yeah, I was just curious why there weren't any on the rest of the perimeter. And I still don't understand that.
There should be. There
I
should be
thought there
some
would
on,
be
there should be
too.
some on the west and the east, I thought.
I don't see any.
How old is that map? Let me ask.
This map is the one that was in the last DEQ
Okay.
report. The date on this map is 2014.
Oh,
Okay, but I don't have any more data than that. So if you would be so kind, can you check and see where the gas sampling wells are and let us know? I think the objective is to kind of have a perimeter so that one can check. And you're quite right, there might not be any, anything if you put a well in something that's not porous, you're not gonna get gas into
Right.
it. But the top of the hill, I believe, is kind of a semi-porous basalt. So I'm not even sure if that
I don't even,
would or would not have gas in it.
yeah, I'd have to investigate that more. That's our groundwater map, looks like.
Okay,
Those are
well, yeah.
groundwater contours.
Yeah.
So if you would please,
Okay, yeah.
I'd like to see I'd like us to see where the gas sampling wells are, if there are others than these.
Yeah, it seems we should have more than that. That doesn't make sense, but.
So just backing up a little bit. So part of this discussion is about the DEQ pre-enforcement notice, right?
Yeah, that one is now on the table, yes.
Yeah, so this was something that we've been waiting for all year, right? Like, we tried to get in touch with DEQ a few times because they kept cryptically saying that there was an active case, but they wouldn't say what it was, right? So this is finally that we have in front of us.
Yeah.
Reading through it, it sounds like one issue is the lack of I don't know, like closely spaced sampling in the areas that are supposed to be sampled. Is that a good characterization, David?
Well, there's quite a few things in the pre-enforcement notice, which I believe you now have. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. What, when are you going to be prepared to discuss what's going to happen?
Not for a while. We have to discuss it internally. We have to meet with and provide the information as outlined in that pre-enforcement notification to DEQ.
Yeah, it looks like there's a fairly short deadline for that.
Yes.
Yeah.
For the information request, yes.
The Republic doesn't have to do anything until DEQ comes back and tells you what the
Official order.
So this is a notice that enforcement could be pending, right?
Right.
This is not a violation, and this is not a notice of violation, this is a pre-enforcement. And the ongoing thing with like EPA letter 114, hey, that was a subpoena, that was an, it's not. This stems from most likely the 2022 and 2024 stuff. This was done by the EPA. EPA handed this off to DEQ because the EPA is hamstrung right now. So they said, here, DEQ, take care of it. And that's what DEQ just sent this on Wednesday or Thursday last week, and we notified the county right away regarding this. So we have to gather the information, submit it to DEQ by the 26th of November for their request, and then the other actions will be followed up as we get into the new year, and we'll have discussions probably with DEQ after we submit the documentation, because they'll
Yeah.
probably have questions. So
So,
I'm not gonna really kind of dive into that until we talk to DEQ and we get more an understanding of where they are, what they're looking for. Right now, this is just like the EPA 114 request. It's a documentation request, just in short order.
It feels a little bit more than a documentation request,
absolutely, yes,
because
I agree.
they've outlined specifically issues,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
So it does seem like it goes at least like one level deeper than just a
Yes,
document request.
Yeah, the requested permit modification to include drone.
you cannot
SEO.
modify a permit that we do not have.
Yeah.
That's the
So
problem.
maybe they create a permit, I guess.
You have to go through Title V permit, and that's what we're doing right now, and there's no indication from Michael or Janice from the DEQ that this permit will be ready by January 1st. They had us restart modeling based on AB 42, and that takes weeks and weeks, and we've met regularly with DEQ to go over the nuances of the modeling and what DEQ wants and different parameters, and they come back and say, well, do this. And we give it to them, we model it, and they come back and say, do this.
Right.
So you can't do a permit modification if you do not have a permit in hand. So I don't know why they asked for that when we don't have a permit.
I do have, did you have a chance to read the notice at this point?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
It was given to me, yeah.
Okay, because it didn't, yeah, it wasn't mailed to you, I don't think.
No, it was sent to Brett, the general manager,
And he
and
probably
I
handed it
got
off to
it,
you.
and I got it
Well,
within
it
the.
seems to me like, probably had a bit, I think there's more in it than you're saying.
Say again?
It's identifying key issues, I believe.
Yeah,
Okay, and
but what's the question?
what,
What's your question?
my question is, this has been, why is it that we're learning about this today when it's been going on for a couple of years?
We just got this notification last week, so
Well,
I'm not sure.
They've made 2 visits.
I can't speak to how fast or slow regulators work. I can't speak to that. If this stems from 22 and 24 EPA visits, I can't speak to say how fast they write the report and enforce action. That's not on us. That's on them to write the report, investigate, write the report, and submit.
I've been in
findings.
meetings here where we've talked about it before, and you heard the testimony. So I'm surprised that there hasn't been any action taken.
Like, what do you mean by action by the regulators?
No, to do something about what's being seen in these things.
I can't snap my fingers, David, and have fixed everything at once within the 10 months I've been here. I've been actively working as best I can to get everything fixed as fast as I can. I recognize problems and I fix them as fast as I can.
I understand that, but
So
I would like to see some information about what has been done.
and that will be provided once it's publicly available.
So are you saying that this is the first notice, November 6th is when Republic Service first understood anything that occurred maybe in the 22 or 24 visit?
I was not here for that. They visited, they documented some stuff. We did corrective actions. We fixed the things. And that's the last we've heard of it. They did not come back at all. The way it works is they come to site, they document corrective actions. We submit those corrective actions that we've done. And sometimes it's 3 to 5 years till we hear back. So we have not heard anything from the EPA from 22 or 22.
Well, you said they gave you something right at the day.
Well, so at the day, yeah, they write a report and say, these are the things that we found, like the tears in the line, whatever it is, we fix it. And then they go back to the office and it falls into the ether. So we don't know. We can reach out to the regulators. They will not respond. I know previously, I think Ian reached out to them several times. They just ghost you. They don't, until they come out with their action, enforcement action, you just don't hear anything from them. And it could be years, and hence, it's been years. So.
But I guess you're aware of what happened on the day of the visit. And maybe that's what David's getting.
Anecdotally, I
guess.
heard and I seen the report, that's it.
So they do submit a report on the day of their visit?
They should have, you should have, there should be a report, I think, I don't know.
Yeah, those were, we have a copy,
Yeah,
Bailey definitely has copies of those reports.
yeah, those copies should be public and should have them.
Okay.
I know they were, I think they were submitted previous. Ian, right? I think, I don't know, or email you EPA or something like that, yeah.
Paul, do you know if those reports included mention of parts of the landfill that were not subjected to surface emissions monitoring? Because they made a big point of that in this letter. That there were.
I do not know off the top of my head for those, the older reports.
Yeah.
I can't answer that either way right now. I just don't know.
Yeah.
You know, it just seems obvious to me that if I were operating in operations, I'd be taking actions. I wouldn't wait.
I'm not sitting on my hands, David. I'm doing as much as I can. If I'm on that field, I see a problem, I try to fix it, all right? I can't fix everything at one time. So I am actively working to fix things.
I'm delighted.
For example, if you want to take it. So previously they didn't monitor the grass. The first thing I did was say, cut that grass, we're gonna walk that. Plain and simple, and that's what I did. Within the 3 months I was here, we're cutting that grass. We're not doing this. We are going to go and fix the issues that were previously occurring. And that's what I'm doing. So we went from not monitoring 75% to actually monitoring probably 80% maybe, I don't know, I have to count down the grids. So I've completely reversed that situation to either it's unsafe due to CFR rules, or it's the working phase. Obviously, you can't do a surface emissions monitoring right in the working phase in trash. You're not going to walk that. So if I'm seeing a problem, I'm trying to get it done as fast as I can and take that corrective action.
And is it documented then? I mean, that's all David's.
Yeah, it's in the reports. It's in the quarterly reports. So second quarter, we got the drone out. I think it was second quarter. We got a rover out to test a rover on the slopes that we couldn't walk. It was quasi-successful. It's in the report that we submitted. Third quarter, we increased the amount of area that we're monitoring. And this fourth quarter, we're trying to get 90% of the landfill covered, except the working phase.
Well,
so they're in the report.
Which report is that?
There's one that I've given to Bailey. It's a semi-annual NESHAP subpart quad A report that I believe. I gave that to you, Bailey, I believe back in July.
How do you spell that?
I don't know.
If not, I will send it to you this week, but I think I gave that to you, yeah.
So you have a quarterly report and you have a semi-annual report, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so there should be a quarterly report that just.
Third quarter report should be done by the end of this month. I'm not mistaken.
Okay, great. Well.
Yeah. And it gets uploaded to YDO DEQ. And I have to have Bailey remind me all the time because I forget to send him the reports. So he doesn't have to dig for them in YDO.
Okay.
Excuse me, on DEQ's website.
I think it'd be to our advantage to review those reports too, so we see what you have done.
Oh, yeah, that's not a problem.
Since I have not seen those reports.
Okay, I thought you had. That's why I was like really confused. What are you asking? Because I thought.
I haven't seen them.
Okay, my apologies. I thought you had access to them through.
I might have access, but I haven't seen them.
Okay.
That's different.
I did want to correct one thing I said earlier, which is that it is more than just like a step above a document request. Like,
I said, yeah, I agree.
looking through this, so this report is in our meeting packet. On page 8, it lists a number of class 1 violations.
Yes.
To Oregon environmental law. So they basically say, they outline a bunch of findings, preliminary findings. They say that they conclude that Valley Landfill is responsible for the following violations of Oregon environmental law. And then it lists 7 violations, most of them class 1, I believe. So that's very different, right? Like,
no, I'm not arguing that.
Yeah. What's that?
It's sort of an indictment.
Right. And then, they have an information request appended to that. But like, I think it would behoove us, I don't think we're going to be able to do much during this meeting, but behoove us as a committee to keep an eye on this and see where it goes, because I mean, I think, one source of, not to speak for David, but one source of cognitive dissonance might be that you guys know what the laws are, right? So in theory, you should know when you're in violation of this. So it's weird to see this come through, like,
Right.
there should be no violations.
Agreed, but the interpretation could be, it could be somewhat subjective on this. They complain about the tarps covering landfill. There is no law and regulation that says we have to have tarps. But yet they point them out that that cover is in violation or something, but yet that's for rainwater. That has nothing to do, it's secondaries. It happens to control odors, but they point that out and that is not. So there is going to be some debate way above my level about these things and how that is interpreted. So, I mean, am I getting up to speed on them? Absolutely. Has this occurred before me? Yeah, and I don't want to throw previous person under the bus or anything like that, but I'm still playing catch up. And these happened in 22 and 24, and I'm doing my best to make my corrective actions as I find them before this happens.
Some of the element, I think that, and I did skim that report, something about, the cover and the lack of soil cover, and I don't know what the driver is or the timeline for that is. And observations, again, could be dated about, plant material growing through that. And I think that came up in some of the testimonies, that questions about what is that, and maybe you're gonna get to that a little bit later about landfill end of life projections, but at what point is the plastic, which is interesting, I didn't know that wasn't a requirement, but there is some kind of requirement.
Oh, yeah. So we actually are planning and moving up a capping event. So a capping event is what you see on that southern slope, all the grass.
Yeah.
We are moving one up to either 27 or 28, and it's in the documents that we submitted to the county that this is what we're doing. So we're moving that up several years. So we're looking at the east, basically the east side, 25 acres-ish, depending on where we are to final cap to 25 acres on the east side.
So that's cells 1 through what?
No, those are cells 4 and 5.
Yeah.
1, 2, and 3 are all that closed up already down on the south side. Yeah.
And when you say cap, that means a soil
So
cover?
we have, right now, we have intermediate cover, which is 12 to 18 inches, compacted soil. Underneath that tarp, that's 12 to 18
Yeah.
inches. Then you put, and you kind of have to scrub that up to get it recompacted to make it nice. Then you put an impermeable boundary, like the liner stuff that we put on. And then you put 3 feet of topsoil on there. You compact the topsoil, roughed up a little bit, then you seed it. You plant trees or whatever you want on that. That's typically how that final closure goes. So there's a big plan.
So there is or isn't, how much acreage is under final cap?
Right now, cells 1 and 2, 1A and 2, that's all the closure. I would say probably 20 acres. I don't know off the top of my head.
I guess the impression I got is that more acres could be under final cap, but are not. And I don't know, again, I didn't follow the argument.
No, so all the closed areas that are not actively being filled are final capped. That's the old cells 1, 1A and 2, and I think part of 3 or 3. I just can't remember off the top of my head where they're partitioned on that.
So everything else is an active.
It's considered active or intermediate cover. So if we're not in active working phase, we have to, by rule, have 12 inches of compacted soil on that cover. Intermediate cover is what they call it.
Is there only one cell then that's active and the rest are intermediate cover?
Right now, we're in 6, and we're kind of filling 5 up to grade on that western side where they meet, getting up to grade on there is where we are right now.
So just those 2 are quote, sort of open, the rest are.
Yeah, everything's covered. The east side is cell 5 and all cell 4 is where you see all that EPDM, which is a grayer cover, and then the tarps are the blacker cover up top. Yeah.
Yeah, so it looks like you got a couple of dates that are kind of key. One of them's like November 26th, that's pretty soon.
Yeah.
And then the next one looks like it's going to be sometime right at the beginning of the year.
Yeah, so somewhere, and I'm just putting it out there because I'm not sure how the timeline of this works. If we submit the stuff to DEQ, I'm sure DEQ is going to want to meet with us to review that documentation between the 26th and the first of the year, which is probably like 2.5 weeks given the holidays. So I imagine they probably want to meet in that timeframe. I don't know. That's my guess at this point.
When will you be able to inform us of this stuff?
Of if there's a meeting with the EQ or anything?
Well, you know, if you're sending things, we kind of need to know what's going on for our,
Well, right now, it's kind of I would have to talk to legal. I don't know if this is a legal process where we have, I don't know. I don't know, and I don't want to say yes or no either way. So I would have to check to the powers to be the.
well, I guess my request would be to see what's being sent on the 26th.
Yeah, I can't answer that right now.
I know, but I can ask it now.
Right.
And I don't think that there should be a big issue, only because if you're sending it to a public entity, the DEQ, and you believe it to be,
If there is a legal, if
Accurate,
it's part of a
it should be
legal enforcement action, I don't know what can be sent or not sent, and I'll have to ask. I do not know that.
well,
I
thank
don't
you.
want to give you the.
Yeah, I want to make sure that I can help others understand how things are being resolved. Okay,
Right.
that's,
No, I understand.
that's
Yeah.
what helps, is
Yeah.
to know what is being done. Because otherwise, most people, when they don't hear or see anything, think that nothing's happening.
No, I understand. Oh, yeah, no, I understand.
And that's
It's not, it is a government entity that goes at a snail's pace, no offense.
I understand the
But, you know,
EPA has its,
And any regulatory agency
Sure.
is going to slow step stuff to make sure they cover everything legally. So,
okay, and then I also noticed that it says by January 1 of 2026, and I also know that that's in the middle of a holiday. So, but it says by, so I'm
Yeah.
assuming that it better be submitted before
yeah,
that date.
yeah, and we're not to that point yet. Our point right now is to combine all the documents and get that, because that's the short term, quick.
Well, thank you. I'd sure like a way to respond to people's questions with an understanding that there is action being taken.
It may also be possible to come at this from the DEQ side with like a Freedom of Information Act kind of request. If Republic is not free to share it, we might be able to request it from the state.
And that would give you the answer if you get it or not, is if it's currently under review
Yeah.
or whatever. So I don't know. I don't know the legal processes, Dave, and I don't want to give you false impressions or anybody here false impressions. What I can and can't do. I just don't know.
Yeah,
Okay,
okay.
so we have one more item on the agenda before we get to DSAC membership, and that's this one for you, Paul. It says landfill end of life projections. Is this something that you were working on?
Yeah, so he sent me an email last week, I think it was.
Yeah, beginning.
Something like that, yeah, something like that, early last week, yeah, so back, and I don't know, Julie can also help speak in because she was here, but I think during the BCTT meeting, there was a statement that we had beginning of 22, like 14 and a half to 16 years life expectancy left, apparently. That's, I think that's what you had in the email, and you asked me 3 questions. Density, we're taking more tonnage, which I'll say right now, no. We are always within our permitted limit. And then did we lose, I think, what was the third one? Airspace or something?
If the cell 6 usable airspace was below what was originally.
No. So no to those last two. The first one, density, those can vary, but not significantly enough to change. And when these were done, remember, for 22, this was forecasted back in August. So usually we do the coming year in August, right? So we take what kind of tonnage we get, we calculate out density, and that's how, or what our current tonnage is. So right now we're somewhere around, I think, 1965 tons per cubic foot, yard, would be nice. So that's our operational density, almost 2,000 pounds per cubic yard, which is pretty darn good. So that means we're getting our compaction right, and that's how we track our compactors going over the right number of times, things like that. Where you lose density is when you put a fluff lift down. So if everybody doesn't know what a fluff lift is, when you build a new cell, you have to put 10 feet of residential waste, not commercial waste, because we don't want anything to damage the liner that's underneath the gravel and stuff. So, and you have a low impact dozer, not a compactor, and go over that. So that density can drop quite a bit and depends on the surface area. So if you have a big floor, your density will go down overall. Even if you put trash on top of it with a compactor, you're not going to get that density back up to speed. So that could be a potential as we built the cells 5E early in 22, I think it was, or whenever that, is that right? 5E? I don't remember when 5E was built, the last cell. So that could affect the overall. But remember, when we started this application process, we were at a little over 10 years a year ago. Now we're somewhere 9.5. So if you look at from 2022 up to now, you take off 4.5 years, we should be at 10 on the low end, right? So if we had 14.5 to 16 years for 22 or for 2022, you take that 22, 23, 24, and 25, we theoretically should be around 10 years. But remember, it's just an estimate. So this can change depending on how much trash we get a year. If a customer decides to go someplace else and we lose tonnage, then that extends our life. But we've been consistent with our tonnage for the last 3 years or so.
Do you know if LiDAR flights were done to measure the?
No, we do we do monthly, or we did monthly flyovers and to get our density. So we do monthly flyovers. We have a company that come over and fly, and then that gets that airspace. So they'll compare it to the previous month, or we do it every other month now. And so they compare it to the last flyover and they calculate that distance, that change in elevation, and that gets us our density and how much trash do we put in between that first flyover date and the last one. And then they calculate that spatial area, what our density is based on tonnage. So
I think this is probably something we can discuss more offline,
Right.
But it kind of looked like there was a discrepancy of 4 years of capacity based on that original finding in the BCTT.
Yeah, 14.5 to 16 years at the beginning of 2022, right?
Correct.
So we're 4 years from that calculation. 21 is when that calculation was made. For the year of 22, then we have 23, 24, now 25. That's 4 years with 1.1 million cubic yards or tons of waste coming in. So, or that 1.1 million cubic or tons per year, right? So that'd be 4.4 million tons from the beginning of 22. So that basically takes us down to technically 10 years on the low end of that estimate, correct?
If I followed you.
Yeah, sorry, I'm not I guess I can type it up in an email.
Yeah.
And say, hey, for example, and that's what I can just put in an email and I'll kind of tabulate it out and show you where we are. And remember, it's just an estimate. It's just an estimation.
Yeah.
That's all it is. And so that changes. So what?
10 to 12 years, yeah.
Yeah, so theoretically, I mean, we started this process in 24, we estimated a little over 10 years. Now we're probably at 9.5 right now, because we're a year down the road since we submitted the application. When we submitted the application, it was somewhere around 10 years of airspace left.
Isn't the cap though on tonnage going away with the extension?
No, we put in one of the conditions of approval was that if it was approved 26, we will have a tonnage cap. So we'll have a tonnage cap. There will be no gap in the tonnage cap.
Okay.
Pat Malone, one of the commissioners, stated 1.3 million was the cap for the entire landfill.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So
One of the conditions.
that was a concern, but and organic growth. We're at some point you can only go so far before it becomes too expensive, where you can take it someplace else. So that's they thought, well, we'll also get 2 million tons of trash a year. Where are we going to go to Eugene and pick it up, or Grants Pass? No, if it comes too expensive, they'll just take it someplace closer. So unless they have organic growth, like Adair Village, all of a sudden having 20,000 more homes, that's tonnage that would impact us, not something 100 miles away.
Okay.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
We can interrupt, yeah.
Okay, I want to keep us on track. Did anyone have any other quick questions or should we?
I'll send Bailey an outline and he can distribute.
Just thank you for the information.
Yeah, thank you.
So we will be having an estimate on the north side. What's the remainder tonnage then? The fill 6. And you have a projection on the south side, what the engineers are going to put in there?
It's 6 years.
6 years.
So basically.
Just 6 years.
Just 6 years, yeah.
Oh,
It's half of what was originally done in 22
yeah.
on the permit application.
All right, so moving on to our last big agenda item, which is DSEC membership. So a bunch of us, our terms are expiring at the end of the year. So I'd like us to just for now proceed with the assumption that whoever's continuing on is going to get renewed, just to make our lives easier. So I think Bailey, you said all but 3 DSEC members are going to be continuing on, whose terms are expiring this year. So who's rolling off in addition to me?
You, David,
I
think
I'll stay. I'm not
Oh, good.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
Thank
at
goodness.
this point.
good.
Okay, so it's
So
just me and Chuck.
Yeah,
Okay, that's great. All right.
unless I'm
Now, Jennifer, you're
wrong.
planning to stay too, is that right?
Okay. Does anyone else have any secret plans to leave, or is everyone?
No, I just have a lot of overseas travel, so I can't make every meeting.
Yeah.
And I have a health issue that we'll find out later.
Okay. Knock on wood. All right, so we, Bailey, do you want to talk about SWAC for a minute? Just kind of preview what will happen next year?
So I've been thinking about trying to reinstate the Solid Waste Advisory Council, which is anybody here not familiar with what that group does?
The what kind
The Solid Waste Advisory Council. So it's another similar type work, like committee like this. And, but their purview is bigger. It's more about the solid waste system and recycling programs and waste prevention initiatives. And whereas the focus of DSAC is really much more focused on the landfill itself. Part of why I'd like to reinstate the SWAC is I'm planning to work on a solid waste management plan that would be more encompassing, kind of a wider scope than what DSAC has. So I think a SWAC would be a good way to involve public comment and have public helping to create this new plan. There are also some other upcoming things that are not really within the scope of DSAC, but I think would benefit from input of a SWAC. So, being only one employee working on solid waste stuff here, what I'd like to be able to do is to try and converge the DSAC and the SWAC into a body.
Yeah.
So stay tuned on that. I'll be contacting everyone to ask about reapplying. I'm assuming they'll probably still want to do the interview and all of that, but they may be willing to skip that part since for those of you that are going to reapply.
And Billy, what do people have to do to reapply?
I will follow up with everyone on that and find out how they want to do it.
Hey, Bailey, can I interrupt? So
yeah,
I'm trying to track this here. So if we say that we're going to stay on the DSAC, does that mean we'll reapply and go through the interview process again?
I think so, Dave. I think that is the case. That's what I worked out.
Okay, that was part A, and then part B, I guess, does that, in the merging of the two, the SWAC and the DSAC, are we going to be still one? Does that mean we're one committee, or is the DSAC going to be a separate subcommittee of SWAC or whatever you'd want to call it?
That's also a question that I have for management is how that would work. If DSAC would be a committee of the SWAC, or if the SWAC would just assume the responsibilities of what the DSAC does too.
And is the SWAC or the DSAC, or both of them mandated by statute?
The DSAC is, the SWAC's not.
Okay. And so the size of the SWAC could be anything that Benton County wants it to be, I guess.
Their bylaws, the SWAC has been on hiatus for the last 2 years or so now. But there are bylaws that go with the SWAC, and I'm pretty sure it's 10 members also.
So the total body would then be 20 members.
Not necessarily. If the SWAC assumed the responsibilities of the DSAC, it wouldn't necessarily need to be a larger group.
And that's where I was headed. So we can wear 2 hats.
Yeah.
Again. All right. Okay, thank you.
Great. So yeah, so none of this is set in stone yet. It's still being worked out, but there might be some changes in 2026. All right, so I think the only thing we need to do now, on the assumption that everybody who's staying on next year will stay on next year, is at least vote on a provisional chair for DSAC and a provisional vice chair. Do we have any nominations for chair?
Maybe would it be helpful to them to hear from you about what your role is as chair?
Sure. Well, I mean, would that be helpful to everyone? No.
You would be chair.
What's that?
Are you sure you want to do that?
Well, I don't think it's honestly too much different from what you all have been doing on this committee all year. So the main responsibility I have is to coordinate with Bailey to make sure that we have a reasonable agenda for each meeting, which involves, taking suggestions sometimes from the committee for things that we want to discuss. And then I think, reviewing the agenda is probably the main thing. And then I think a lot of it is discretionary and up to how much energy and time you have outside of the meetings, like following up with individual committee members or subcommittees, things like that. Just kind of making sure that Bailey does all the hard work, but just like helping Bailey make sure that everything is on track. And I mean, I also just like, I think a lot of like setting the tone of meetings is also, good. I feel like I've done that semi-effectively. But, I do think, thank you. I do think like if you have an interest in just like making sure that there is like cohesion and harmony and that we get things done in a productive manner, that's also a plus.
I nominate our current vice chair.
David, how do you feel about that?
I'm willing to be nominated.
Okay.
I can do as well as you have. So see how I do. If nobody else, there's other people. I would mention there's one other thing about the chair. I believe the chair does not vote on an event when we do a vote, except in the case maybe of a tie. So if we have a vote and it's 50-50, then the chair can make the decision. But if we don't have an even number of people at the meeting, then the chair doesn't vote pretty much. I think that's another, I think I read that in the bylaws.
If you merge the 2 committees, are you going to have to dual chairs or pick a chair out of 2 chairs and a hat? I would say having one committee would probably be more beneficial. I mean, from my perspective, be more beneficial because I tell you, these are, I start work at 5 in the morning. That's how, that's just me. Getting back to Dallas at 9 o'clock at night.
From a historical, I was on both SWAC and DSAC, and the committee was set up basically when we set up the agenda, go through it, they would delegate, if it was a DSAC topic, then enter into DSAC and vote on it.
Right.
It had two agendas in that way. It worked pretty good because, but I gotta compliment this group under the chair. You guys have really advanced the subcommittees. That wasn't before like this. So that has really brought more intelligence, if you will, to the table where one can act on it a little bit quicker there.
Yeah, I think that was Bailey's idea, actually, was
I
to,
thought it was yours.
who knows then, but yeah, no, Chuck, I agree with you. I think it really helps to kind of like divide and conquer a bit. And I think, 2 or 3 people working in a group can move a lot faster and get a lot done.
And I did see that, in prior years too, that there was a representative that was on a DSAC committee too, that brought the intelligence there too. I think he would even work for the county at the time too, so that he put him subordinate to that subcommittee, but it helped out quite a bit.
Yeah.
And I'll add my 2 cents. And I know I've said this before. We might not agree on everything. We might have issues, but I respect everybody on this committee. We've had a very mature and lively sometimes discussions, but we're not yelling. We're not berating each other. So I just want to thank everybody here. You have my respect and I appreciate it. Thank you. And you held that in check for everything and I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thanks, Paul.
So if there's a chair for DSAC, if there's another, that is fine to flip a coin and pick one. I think we should have one chair for the meeting if we end up with a combined meeting.
And more subcommittees maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe the
Whatever
sub-chair
happens
would
is
come
perfectly
from
fine.
SWAC.
Yeah.
You could chair, and maybe that could rotate.
Yeah, whatever. But it'd be
Seems like
just,
SWAC almost would be a subcommittee.
I would like to also that the meeting doesn't become much more than 2 hours
Yeah.
in any event.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, speaking of which, any other nominations for chair, or should we?
No, I think that David should do it. And I think that you have been amazing, Rachel. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Julie.
You should double her salary.
I mean, I will say, you all made it so easy. Like it was very weird coming in last year because we were all, most of us were coming in a very like weird environment, just like tonally. So it took us a little while to course correct, but.
Are we gonna find the vice chair as well?
I said yes. Well, we haven't technically voted you chair yet, so maybe let's do that. And then see where we're at.
Nominations,
All right.
do nomination for one, then the other.
All those in favor of David Huckelman taking over as chair of DSAC next year, please raise your hands.
Aye.
Is that
Dave is saying hi.
Aye.
unanimous vote? We could leave vice chair until January if you want. What do you want to do, chair-elect?
Well, there's always a chance that I won't be available for a meeting, so it'd be really nice to have a vice chair. And if we don't have a vice chair, then I will, if I'm not able to attend a meeting, I'll just pick anybody on the group and say you're chair. Okay, so that's your options. You can either elect a vice chair or be ready to be the chair of the meeting at the next meeting.
So that's what all that pro tem is about, right, David?
Would anyone like to nominate themselves as vice chair or nominate someone else? Anyone would like to step up? All right, well, maybe we'll just go with plan B and you can, by fiat, declare somebody the, yeah.
I really don't want to put anybody in the spot, but it'd sure be nice.
Diane's not here, so.
I feel like this is one decision we probably shouldn't make in.
Well, are we gonna have new members? We're gonna have some new members now.
Yeah.
It would not be fair to a new member to make them vice chair.
Welcome.
To have a came chair, you right, you brand new.
That's true. I think there's briefly vice chair.
Or you,
Yeah.
There's like a month or two.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna, I forget how this goes, but yeah, I think we're just gonna, so what I'd like to do is just, I wanna end on a high note. If you have agenda items to request, send them to Mr. Hackelman and to Bailey. And then we will just go from there. Anything else anyone has real quick? We good? I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion and adjourn.
There's a second from Brent. Everyone in favor? All right, thank you all so much. It's been a great time.
Thank you.
Bye.
We appreciate all your time.
Thanks.
Yeah, you did it. Really helped to bring the week together.
Not much.
I know. I came home and I was just like, what? What just happened?
Well, thank you so much.
At some point, like the dust will settle.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Thanks.
Thank you, Rachel. Yeah.